Hey everybody. So we're moving on to the next part of this Tartarus V2 slash Pro analog mod. The previous videos have been specifically to do with the Joycon harness on the side module, and just for the record, I did redesign this harness a little bit such that the this screw mount was pushed out. So on the inside, you're going to have to shave more of this area away of the factory plastic, because now this harness is just ever so slightly larger. It's like, it was 1.5 millimeters or something like that. Anyways, so that is like that. Now I want to show kind of what's next, which is we put or at least I do. You can do this wherever. This is where I like to do it because it's clean. Historically, I used to mount like the microcontroller on the outside of the body somewhere, like say there or even there, with double-sided foam tape, and then you would have two USB cables and an exposed PCB. It works. I've done that for plenty of people. They were happy with it, but I think this is cleaner. So what we do now is I embed a small microcontroller on the inside. And actually, let me these particular ones don't come with solder points for the USB connector like the Raspberry Pi Pico does, or the Teensy does. So I just get these little male USB-C breakouts, and they just, this is real easy. They plug in, and then you've got solder pads right there. So it makes this, it's still compact. It's really still quite compact, and you can hot glue that joint there so it doesn't come loose, and you can solder away. So that goes inside, and these are the best USB hubs I've found for this purpose. This looks large, but once you take this plastic enclosure off and you desolder this connector on the back off, what you're left with is a very compact PCB. So it's more like this long as opposed to full length. And then I cheat a little bit here. It's way easier to like cut and peel back with the Dremel the top part of this connector and these connectors on the inside, and solder directly to, you can see the contacts there on the inside of the connector, solder directly to these contacts. They're big, and a little bit of flux and then solder. It's really easy. It's way easier than trying to desolder the connectors from the board and solder to really tiny SMD pads like this. It's like, no thanks. This can be cut down and modified to be small enough to fit in here. So the arrangement, because you've got wiring coming in from the side module, through here, connects to the this microcontroller. This gets soldered to one of the connectors on this hub. The original factory connector gets soldered to the other part of the hub, and then the other side of the factory cable gets soldered to the output. So it's one cable coming out because you've got the original device and the microcontroller going through a USB hub, and it's all inside. And so that brings me finally to what I need to say is, once you get this apart, there's a bunch of ribbing inside you have to remove. So you leave the screw posts, but most of this has to go, and it's kind of all on this side. So everything from kind of here and up and over needs to be removed, leaving the screw post, and then that leaves you plenty of room to double-sided foam tape or hot glue these things in there. However you can arrange them and without putting strain on the wires, and you glue it down or tape it down, and we're good. I also I drill a small hole here because I put a 2mm, I think it's a 2mm LED through, so you've got some visible indication that this microcontroller is powering on. And there's in the firmware that I write for these, there are different states, like keyboard mode or analog mode or stuff like that, that you can enter. And the LED I wire to this, and so you have some visual indicator of what the microcontroller is doing. So I kind of drill a hole and put it here. So that's even more wiring that's inside of here. So all of this ribbing in here needs to go. And I'll do that cutting off camera, and then come show you what that looks like. And for the record, I like to use, now that I'm on the RP2040 Raspberry Pi Pico platform, I'll say, plenty of people make little 2040 boards that aren't Raspberry Pi. I like this one because I can get it. They're available. The documentation is good, and it has analog pins, which is what I want, and it's small. I think I already said that. But like the code's the same, and really any RP2040 microcontroller using a Raspberry Pi RP2040 chip, anything with this that says something like this, that doesn't have to be this Seed Studio Zao brand, doesn't have to be this, but anything that's roughly this size that is this. And if you look, you have to look at the pinout diagram from the manufacturer of whatever you're buying, and make sure that it has analog pins. Not all of them expose analog pins. A lot of them do. Just make sure that it does. This one does. And all you need for this are 2 analog pins, ground, a digital pin, 3.3 volt power, and then another pin for the LED. That's all you need. So there's plenty of pins here. Analog pins are here. I've got this little male USB breakout because this particular board doesn't have USB solder points. I know you would think maybe these are it. They are not. Those are some of their test points, but I've tried every combination of soldering to these points that I can, as well as reading documentation. I do not think this Seed Studio Zao RP2040 board has USB solder points, hence the USB-C male breakout. But I mean, these are small, they're cheap. I think a bag of 20 was like $8. And you know, even when this is plugged in, it's still very. This is like this. This is more compact than a Teensy LC, which is what I used to use. So we're good. And I've done a few. I've done a few of these. I know they fit. So really, I just wanted to show you the interior of this, and give an explanation as to why I'm doing this. And I'll come back and show you what this looks like with the ribbing removed. And after that will be a pretty gnarly wiring video, because this gets messy before it gets neat. Quite a bit. Again, you've got wiring coming from the side module, you've got the factory wire, and you've got the other side of the factory wire, and then you've got an LED wire, and then wires between the microcontroller and the hub. It's a lot. And so once you get it all working, it looks like a rat's nest. And then once you've tested it carefully, then you start positioning pieces. You start positioning the pieces on the inside and making sure that nothing's strained. And then I like using hot glue. You can use whatever you want, but you just hot glue wires down, you hot glue boards down, you wrap boards in electrical tape maybe to prevent shorts, that sort of stuff, and then it ends up looking really neat. And then you can put the factory keypad PCB right on top of it, and nothing touches, and you're good. And you've got a really clean mod with an analog side module, no exposed wires, and one cable coming out the back. It's great. So I know these videos are a bit long coming, but I think the end result is going to demonstrate how good this can end up being for these aging devices that people still seem to love. So anyways, I'll stop rambling. I'll edit in the next part with this ribbing removed. So anyways, thanks. Okay, I'm back. I've mangled this thing. I'm joking. I did remove all this ribbing in here, so I left the bulk of the exterior frame intact. All this ribbing is here to do anyways is to provide some rigidity to the frame without adding a bunch of weight. So there's enough here still to accomplish that, and it doesn't really need it to begin with. This is ABS, and it's like, I don't know, 2 millimeters thick, so who cares. Anyways, so I just wanted to show you kind of what gets removed. This little channel here, you need that open. Wires are going to come in there. And I also went ahead and disassembled, took the enclosure off of this USB hub and removed the back connector and cut away the top of this connector and those two connectors. So I've got really easy to solder to points for everything. And as you can see, I mean, it very easily just fits. And in terms of height, as long as whatever you're putting in here is shorter than this surface here, you're good to go. So, that's probably better that way, honestly. You can see that's well below that, right? So there's plenty of room here for that. So you could do something like that, or you could do you can move that like that, or you could put this up here and do however you want to. Really, again, like I said, you're going to have one set of wires coming in here, actually two sets, because part of this mod is cutting this factory cable off, so you're going to have this wire loom, another one from the side module coming in here. You're going to have one of them going straight to the pins on the microcontroller, and then you're going to have the other one going to one of the connectors here. You're going to have this breakout board having 4 wires going to the other connector. You're going to have wires going from the pins here to an LED, and then you're going to have the other side of this cable coming to this connector right here. So there's going to be a lot here. So however you want to arrange it, such that there's just the least amount of strain, things aren't tangled, things aren't going to move, and then you glue it down or you tape it down, whatever you want to do, like it's going to be good. Anyways, we don't need to ramble. I think I made my point. The next part of this is will likely be, like I said, a rat's nest. I'm going to have everything wired up, everything cut and soldered and routed. Probably not glued down yet, just so you can kind of see what's soldered to what, and plug it in and watch it work. So that'll be next. And then after that will be probably a short final video showing everything glued down and maybe parts of the reassembly. Though honestly, if you've gotten this far with disassembly, putting it back together is cake. It's nothing. I think that's it. There's nothing else to demonstrate here. I will say, make sure that you get what you remove with the ribbing down as flush as you can, even if you have to sand it a little bit. I have a razor that I use. I'm getting it. Sorry, an X-Acto knife. This is also a sharp. It's a spudger, but I've sharpened it. It's pretty sharp. It's sharp enough to scrape that up. And I use just flush cutters. So you kind of snip one of the joints straight down, and then you can wiggle it, and then you I just kind of grab it and rock it back and forth, and it or twist it, and it comes out, and then but you're left with a pretty rough surface, and then I just come back with one of these numbers and just kind of scrape. All right, I've already done it, so nothing's coming up, but you want to do that. You want this because the bottoms of these boards are going to be in contact and wires, so you don't want any jagged edges protruding that's going to rub a wire wrong or gouge something into the bottom of your PCB, or lift a copper trace, or you don't want anything like that. So just make sure that when you do this, you get this as clean as possible, and that'll save on trouble in the future. But anyways, I'll stop rambling for sure this time, and I'll leave y'all to it if you're following along, and I'll get the next video up with the next steps soon. All right, thanks.